All right, welcome everyone. This is Mylio from Clutter to Clarity. We're going to be using Mylio Photos version 23 today, and we're going to talk about how to get your photos organized and how to find the photo that you want using Mylio Photos. I am JC Figueroa. I'm the customer success lead for Mylio Photos. I have been a photographer, specifically an underwater photographer, for a long time. I've done a lot of photo organization education. I've been in the media technology industry for a long time, leading support teams and doing all kinds of fun stuff. But nothing as fun as what I've been doing for the past 4.5 years at Mylio Photos. I really enjoy what I'm doing now. Joining me today is Lori Rubin. Lori is a product evangelist for Mylio, and she's an amazing professional photographer and a photo educator. She's going to be joining us today. She'll be answering your questions while I'm talking incessantly. Today, we're going to talk about the subject, the theme of the webinar is From Clutter to Clarity. And what we mean by that is, how do we take the immense collection of photos and media that is so easy to amass these days and make it into an organized library that we can use for the pleasure and satisfaction of having the photo that you want when you want it. How do we get there, and is it possible, right? It's so easy to snap photos with your phone these days. It's so easy to just collect all these photos, and then you already have the photos that you had before camera phones were a thing, right? Some of you might be avid photographers, either professional or amateur photographers. You might have always had a camera, and you might always be the shutterbug that's always taking photos. You might have a lot of family photos that you have inherited or collected over the years, and you want to scan those photos and make them available. The sources of photos and media seems endless, and we're all drowning a little bit in all these photos. And it's kind of sad, because when we want to find that special photo or relive a special memory, it makes it that much harder to find just the right one. So we at Mylio have 5 steps that we like to foster, in which we help you get that massive library. And for reference, what might be a massive library to me might be a small library to others. Our customer libraries range from anywhere from 5,000 photos to well over 2 million photos, right? For some of us, 2 million photos seems like too many. And for some of us, 5,000 photos seems like nowhere near enough. So it really is up to you. What makes sense to you? How big is your library? How overwhelming is your library is a personal preference. But what we want to do is we want to talk about these 5 steps, and we want to show you the different tools within the Mylio ecosystem that can help you along the way. The 5 steps are collect, and by that we mean you collect all your photos, you bring photos from different sources, and we're going to talk about all the different sources where we tend to find all these photos. We are going to talk about connect, and connecting means taking all of these photos that you collected into one common library, and then connecting all the devices that you use in your life, your phone, your computer, your tablet, different storage devices, even cloud systems, connecting them all together so that you have a cohesive library that is shared among all of these devices. We're going to talk about selecting, and that is, how do you make sure that the photos that are in your library are photos that you actually want? Which ones are more worthy of being part of your collection than others? So that's what the selection process is about. Then we're going to talk about reflect. So looking at the photos and reliving those moments and really spending quality time with those memories and having the ability to find the photo that you want when you want it. And last but certainly not least, not least, we'll talk about protect and why protecting your photos is important and why you want to have a protected library so that you never lose a photo. So those are the basic 5 steps. These are general guidelines. I'll mention them again along the way, but what we're going to spend a lot of time doing is just looking at the Mylio Photos application and learning how it can help us get to this place of clarity where every photo seems instantly accessible to us. All right, so let's start by talking about collecting. Where do we have photos? Where are our photos, right? Well, a lot of our photos, if they're already digital, they're going to be in our computer. They're going to be on our Mac. They're going to be on our Windows computer. They might be on an old computer that you're no longer using, but you have that computer sitting in the closet because you know there's still photos in that computer that are nowhere else. They're obviously and most definitely going to be in your phone, your iOS phone, your Android phone, any kind of mobile device that you've been using to take photos. Those photos seem to be trapped there. And sure, there's Google Photos and there's Apple Photos, which helps you kind of get those photos into the cloud, but you still don't feel that you have control of that media. So how do we bring those photos into the fold? Tablets are another place where we have photos. You know, a lot of tablets like an iPad, they have the ability of being a camera and taking photos. And even if you're not taking photos with a tablet, media might have been collected there. So we can use that also as a source of media. And then a lot of us have hard drives and memory cards that have a collection of photos in them, either because, you know, the last computer I used, before I got rid of it, I copy all the photos into a folder and they're sitting on a shelf in the hard drive. And, you know, the challenge with hard drives is they're kind of like car tires. It's not if they're going to fail, it's when they're going to fail. So you want to make sure that those photos are protected. Same with memory cards, right? It's very easy to, I do this all the time. I'll grab my camera at the last minute as I'm heading out on a trip. And when I get to my destination, I realize that I didn't grab a memory card. So I run to the pharmacy or to the grocery store and buy a memory card, throw it in the camera, take a bunch of photos, and that becomes yet another memory card that has media in it, and it never gets organized. For those of you that use digital cameras, that's another big source of photos. And then we have social media, right? We've uploaded photos to Facebook or to Flickr or to Google Photos or to Instagram. We might have a big storage device in our home or in our office that we also keep media into. And then scanners are another source of photos. If you have printed materials or even negatives that you want to bring into your collection. So these are all places that have mini collections of photos, but that those collections are not cohesive. So what we can do with Mylio Photos is bring all those into one. I'm going to switch now to Mylio Photos, to the application, and we're going to spend the majority of the remaining time in the application with me just showing you my own personal library. And this is my own personal library. These are really my real photos from real life. And what I've done is I've taken photos from all of those different locations, all of those places that tend to collect these photos, and I brought them into one cohesive library using Mylio Photos. Now, when you first start using the software, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about how to install the application or how to get started, we do have some really good documentation and training material in our website that helps you get started. If you do have specific questions about installation and all that, please feel free to ask. I can cover it at the end of the session. But for now, let's assume that you've installed the application and you are in the process of starting to bring photos. For a lot of you, when you first install Mylio, you got this window here that kind of mimics what I was talking about, right? I was talking about all the different places where photos tend to get collected, and Mylio has this guided import, and I'm going to show you how I got there again. If I go if I go to the file menu, there is guided import here. And that shows me I can add the pictures folder from my computer, which is a default place that a lot of photos go into, or the movies folder. If I'm using a Mac device, I can add the Apple Photos library. I can add photos from my Android phone or tablet, my Facebook account, Instagram account. These are all different mechanisms that allow me to bring photos into Mylio. The other mechanism is called Add Media, and it's this little plus button that is always sitting up here at the very top of the Mylio interface. So if you go to the top left corner, there's some important icons here, and the first one of them is Add Media. When I click on that, it shows me different ways of adding media. And again, I can add media accessible from this device, which will let me access anything that's connected to my computer, whether it's a hard drive, whether it's the internal storage of that computer, whether it's a memory card, or even a CD or a DVD that I've connected and has photos in it. I can access that and then add that to Mylio that way. We can add media from online services. So Instagram, Facebook, Frame.io, Google Photos, all of these are methods to bring those photos in. Oops, I almost skipped over Apple Photos. If you're using, again, macOS device, you'll have the option of adding the Apple Photos library. Also, the all discontinued libraries that Apple used to have, like iPhoto or Aperture, can be added with this function. If you're in a Windows system, you're not going to see this option. You'll only see the top two options because there's no Apple Photos for Windows, so you won't see that. All right, so that is what I've done. I brought all my photos from different places. And what Mylio allows me to do then is to have those photos immediately organized into different views. What I'm looking at right now is called the calendar view. And in the calendar view, Mylio takes the dates that are already in the photos and it displays those photos in a calendar. Right now we're in decade mode, so I'm just seeing the different decades and year by year. And you'll notice that I can start scrolling back in time here. And I start seeing very important events in my life, like my son being born and my daughter being born. And now I have photos of my first wedding and photos from college and from high school and sixth grade graduation and my sister getting married and my brother getting married. And then there's photos of before I was born. Family photos that are important to me, like my dad receiving awards from the military, or the only photo that I have of my grandma. I can go all the way back to the first time my parents got on a flight, or this very, very old photo from 1944, where my mom and her siblings and her grandma are all in the photo. Very important photo to me, very precious. I never want to lose it, and I can access it very quickly using Mylio. So that is what the calendar view does. It takes the dates that are in the photos and it displays them in an organized manner. I can go, let's go to a more recent year here. I can go into 2018. I can go into a specific month. So now I'm in 2018. If I click May, now I'm in May of 2018, and Mylio is showing me all the days for which there's photos. If I go to a specific day, it'll show me all the photos that were taken on that day. And if I click on a photo and I open the information panel, which is on the right side, right there on info, now I have information about that photo. I have what camera was used to take this photo, all of the pertinent camera information, the date of the photo. I can add a title or a caption. There's keywords. There's something called smart tags where Mylio is telling me, hey, there's a person in this photo. It's properly exposed. You can see the sky in the photo. I can also tell what people are in the photo. It knows that I'm in the photo. It says JC is in this photo. It also knows that this photo belongs to an album. There's an album that has this photo in it. And where this photo was taken. It knows the specific GPS coordinates. And a lot of other data that we won't go into because we would be here all day if we just discuss all the metadata that Mylio can show you. So every one of your photos has a lot of metadata in it. And Mylio is going to use that metadata to create this automated organization. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, some of my photos don't have the correct date. You can use Mylio to correct that date. If I go back into the calendar view, I'm going to double click on the calendar view, and that takes me to the top level of the calendar view. And if I scroll all the way to the top, and Mylio has this cool little flag. Notice that as I start scrolling, this little flag shows up on the side. I can grab that and navigate through Mylio very quickly. So I went all the way to the very top, and notice that I have a category, a little container at the top of my calendar called undated. And if I go in there, it's mostly photos that came from print photos. And these are all scanned photos where the date on the file was the day that it was scanned versus the day that the photo was taken. So I have this container of photos that I know I need to correct the date on. And for some of them, it's going to be pretty easy to find out what the date was. For others, it'll take a little bit more investigation work, but I know that these photos need to be date corrected. So let's do one of them really quickly. If I open this photo, you can kind of tell there on the side, it says April 76. So I can correct the date on this photo and have it appear in the calendar correctly based on that date. I don't know which day in April of 1976 it was, but it's okay because Mylio not only lets me add a specific timestamp, but I can add a date range, or in this case, I can just add the month and the year. And there's many options here. But the first thing that I do when I scan photos and I bring them into Mylio is I change them from the incorrect date, the day that were scanned, to undated. And that's going to give me now a bunch of photos that I know I have to correct the date. So we'll correct the date on this one. We'll select April as the month, and we'll select 1976 as the year. Right there, we'll click save. Now that photo is no longer part of that undated group, but if I go to 1976, around the month of April, I should be able to find it. So there's 1976, and there in April is that photo. So just like that, you can correct the dates on photos and have them appear in the right place in the calendar. And you don't have to do one photo at a time. You can select a whole group of photos. If they all have the same date, you can correct them all at once. So that is the calendar. Another cool thing that you'll notice about the calendar is all these little dots with words on them. These are called events. An event is just that, an event, something important, something that happened. Maybe it was a trip, maybe it was a wedding, like my daughter's wedding right down here, or a trip that I took. These are automatically organized by Mylio based on a folder or a manually created event. I can tell Mylio, hey, next Saturday is my niece's birthday from 2 to 4. I create that event, and any photos that I take during that time will automatically become part of that event. And I can fine tune it. I can say only photos that I took with my phone during this time are part of the event, et cetera, et cetera. But I can very quickly click on any one of these events. Like right here, I can click on Galapagos 2021, and it takes me to all the photos from when my wife and I visited the Galapagos Islands in 2021. Just like that, I can go to those photos instantly, still from the calendar view. But calendar is only one of the views in Mylio. While calendar is very useful for showing me when a photo was taken, there are other functions that I can use, other views that I can use if my memory works differently, right? We all remember things in different ways. So we might remember when a photo was taken, but sometimes we only remember where a photo was taken. That's where the map view comes in handy. So this is our map view, and it is just that. It's a map where you have groups of photos that are collected based on location. I live up here in the Pacific Northwest, so if I start zooming in on that area, you'll notice that we start getting more and more detail as to where photos were taken. And I can zoom in pretty precisely. I can go all the way into this hike that I took And I can even see the trail and where in that trail I was and where I was hiking at that time. If I click on any one collection, then it shows me all the photos in that collection. And it's a great way to, like, at a glance, find where you've been in the world, where photos have been taken. You know, I've had the pleasure of traveling pretty extensively. I need to spend a little bit more time in South America. I have not had the pleasure of going to Africa yet. So there's still a few places that I'm hoping I get the privilege of visiting. But the map view makes it really, really easy for us to find photos based on when they were taken. And if you look at the bottom left corner, you'll notice there's a button there called View on Tag. That even shows us the photos that don't have GPS data on them. And I can use Mylio to add that data. So if I click View on Tag, Mylio is going to show me a collection of photos that don't have GPS data. And for example, all of these photos right here, these were taken in the Pike Place Market in Seattle. So I can open up the right side panel and go to a smaller version of the map, and I can say Pike Place Market. So I'm going to click here, Pike Place Market, and Mylio is zooming into that area. I can grab all of those photos all at once and drop them right there. It's really more right around there. Is where those photos were taken. And the moment I click that green bar, those photos are now geotagged. If I return to the map view in Mylio, and I zoom in to where Pike Place Market is in Seattle, I will be able to instantly find those photos once more. So it is just that easy to correct or add dates to, not dates, but GPS data to your photos and be able to find them again. So 2 ways of finding your photos so far. We talked about the calendar view and we talked about the map view. So finding photos based on when a photo was taken, and then finding photos based on where a photo was taken, and being able to correct the data that corresponds to those photos using the tools in Mylio. Next is the people view. People view is a way to find photos based on who is in the photo. And I do love the people view in Mylio. It is a great way to quickly find photos of your loved ones, the people that are important in your life. One of my favorite things to do is go to my daughter's collection of photos. I can grab this little flag that I told you about and scroll all the way to the letter M really quickly. There we are, and there's Madeline, my daughter. And when I click on Madeline and I ask Mylio to zoom in on her face, I can see photos of Madeline as a little baby, as a child, and as a toddler. And then over the years, I can kind of relive the experience of watching my daughter grow. And I can go from one of my favorite photos of her, which is this funny joke of beware of falling coconuts. So she put a coconut next to her head and said, "Dad, take a photo." All the way to a much more recent photo of my daughter about to have a baby, which is happening next month. I'm super excited. I'm going to be a grandpa. So very quickly, I can find all these photos of my daughter. And I didn't have to go and mark every single photo in that collection. You know, if I look here, you notice there's 3,236 photos of my daughter. I didn't have to go and tell Mylio, this is my daughter 3,236 times. I tag a handful of photos, and then Mylio starts learning that face and keeps finding more and more photos of my daughter. If you notice, there's a little question mark right there next to the number of photos, and that's Mylio telling me that some of the photos in her collection, 151 of them, need to be confirmed. So if I go here to my daughter's photo container and I click on the batch tagging icon, Mylio is going to show me a bunch of photos that it's found where it thinks it's my daughter. and I can scroll through them, and I notice very quickly that the first one is not my daughter at all. So I'm going to click the X on that one, but the rest of them are correct. So all I have to do is click approve. And now Mylio's algorithm just got a little bit better at finding photos of my daughter, because every photo that I confirm tells Mylio, this is really my daughter. And now it knows to look for that photo in different ways. So if I confirm a photo of myself wearing a hat and sunglasses, now Mylio knows what I look like with a hat and sunglasses. And when it sees other photos that are in a similar fashion, it's going to identify it better. Up here, so we talked about how in the calendar view, we have the undated category, right? We bring photos in, we know they have the wrong day, so we mark them as undated. And then at the top of the calendar view, you have that little to-do list of correcting dates of undated photos. Same with the map. You can click on the view on tag, and it shows you all the photos that have not been tagged. The people view, in a similar fashion, has an untagged collection at the top of it, at the top of the view, where you can see all the faces that remain untagged. And right now, Molly's telling me there's 2,034 faces, not photos, but faces, because one photo can have multiple faces. 2,000 faces that have not been identified or assigned to a person. So I can click on that area, and I can quickly go into batch mode. And what Molly is going to do is, for the people that it knows, it's going to automatically organize them. So if I go here to Alex, my son-in-law, it's found a bunch of photos of Alex, and I quickly browse to them. They're all correct. So I'm going to say approve that. And then it goes to my mother-in-law. I can go down here to my group, and it says, I found 4 photos of JC. Those are correct. So very quickly, I can do this. There's 4 photos that it thinks is my son. One of them is incorrect. So I'm going to X that one out, but the rest are correct. So very, very quickly, I can go through the untagged photos and bring that collection down. But having these automatic containers where every person that's important in my life, I can find all their photos quickly is super amazing, because then we can create slideshows, we can create books, we can create whatever we want, like I did for my mom's 90th birthday earlier this year. And that leads me to my next view, which is the album view. In the album view, we can create special collections that are meaningful to us in one way or another. Like for my mom, I created a slideshow that had 600 photos of my mom throughout her life. And we just had these photos playing on a big screen of different times in my mom's life. And it was really nice. It was a really pleasant way to have this background imagery of my mom as we celebrated her 90th birthday. And it was super easy. All I had to do was AirPlay my computer to the big screen, and Mylio has a built-in slideshow functionality. So I just said, play this slideshow, and then every photo of my mom kept playing on the big screen. So it's just as easy as that. And that's what albums are about. Lots of things that you can do with albums. Now, keep in mind, albums are different than folders. A folder is where the file lives in your computer. And we're going to talk about folders next. But an album is a virtual collection. So the same photo can be in multiple albums, but it can only live in one folder. So if you're wondering about the difference between folders and albums, well, folders is the actual location where the file is going to live in your computer storage. Whereas an album is a virtual collection, and it only is usable. You can only see an album inside the Mylio application, where you can see a folder outside of Mylio. So let's go to the folder view. Folders is how Mylio helps you organize your photos so that you can find them even if you decide to stop using the Mylio Photos application. Now, I highly recommend against not using the Mylio Photos application because it's awesome. But if you need to find your photos outside of Mylio, you can do so. You'll notice that I have a number of folders here. A lot of these folders Mylio creates automatically, like the Apple Photos folder. If I open that folder, I have 2 subfolders there, photos that came from my iPad and photos that came from my phone. You'll notice I take a lot more photos with my phone than I do with my iPad, but that's where those photos came from. Mylio created those folders, and if I were to split my screen here, let's get out of full screen mode and split my screen and bring a Finder window. If you are a Windows user, this would be the equivalent of Windows File Explorer. But I'm going to go to one of the external hard drives where Mylio saves my photos. And notice there's a Mylio folder there. And if I go to the Apple Photos folder, there's the iPad library and the iPhone library, and all the photos are saved there. I can go here to this test folder, and I can go to the same folder in my hard drive, and the photos that are in that folder are also in Mylio. And if I change something in Mylio, like, you know, I was doing this test folders here for a gentleman called Dunn, I'm going to move those back to another folder inside the test folder. I'm going to move them to miscellaneous. So when I move those photos in Mylio, the files actually get moved in the computer. So that folder now is empty and the photos move to the miscellaneous folder. I don't need that folder anymore, so I'm going to delete it. It gets deleted on my hard drive. So Mylio has a direct correlation of how things are stored in your computer. So what you do in Mylio gets reflected on the computer and vice versa. And if you have more questions about that, let me know. But folders are an awesome way to get organized. Mylio even shows you this neat little tree structures where you can see where your folders are. In my case, I like to organize my photos by trips. That's when I take the most photos. So I can go here and see all the different trips I've taken. And I can click on any one of those and go to those photos instantly. Now, there's one view that we haven't talked about. It's the top view. And this is called the All Photos view. And this is what a lot of you might be familiar when you're using particularly a mobile device like your phone. You get all your photos and they're sorted either chronologically or in some other way. And you scroll and scroll and scroll and hope to find the photo you are looking for. And I mean, that's okay if you like to swipe a lot. But there's more to the All Photos view, to Mylio, and really to all of the views, because we have this technology called QuickFilters. So with QuickFilters, I can ask Mylio, instead of showing me all 45,830 photos in my library and me trying to scroll through all of these thousands of photos, which even though Mylio can do very fast, it's still a lot of unnecessary work. Instead of doing that, I can just ask Mylio to filter the view and show me a portion of my library. I told you I was an underwater photographer, so let's ask Mylio to just show me underwater photos. I'm going to open the quick filter view here, and I'm going to go to something called category. And I've assigned to my photos an underwater category if the photos were taken underwater. So I'm going to ask Mylio to show me all my underwater photos. So we went from 45,000 to 4,378 photos. Now, not all of my underwater photos are worth looking at. So I'm going to add another quick filter. I'm going to go up here and select by rating. And I'm going to ask Mylio to just show me my 4- and 5-star photos. And now we're down to 75 photos. So if you and I met on a plane, because I use Mylio Photos Plus, and my library, what I'm showing you here on my computer, also exists on my phone and on my tablet and on all of my devices, I could just pull up my iPad, apply the same filter, and then hand you the iPad and say, here's my underwater photos. And you could just click play and get a slideshow right there of all my underwater photos. And we could talk about the places where these photos were taken and whether you want to visit those places or what have you. Or I could just leave you alone and you could sleep like most people want to do on the plane. So that is just a very, very quick overview of the quick filters view in Mylio. Quick filters can be incredibly powerful. You can find things not only based on when the photo was taken, where it was taken, but also what's in the photo. Mylio has this technology called smart tags, which uses machine learning to analyze a photo and find photos of specific things. So I can go here in smart tag and go to animal and say, Mylio, show me any photos that I have of cats. And here's all the photos that have cats in them. Or I can say, I want to see photos of vehicles. So I can go in here and say, show me photos that have a bicycle in them. And there's no results. Oh, well, maybe I need to adjust my filters so I get more matches. No, still nothing. All right, well, I guess I don't have a lot of bike photos. Oh, let me get rid of cat. It was trying to show me photos with both bikes and cats. That's why it was getting nothing. Now I see photos of bikes. So smart tags are automatically added to your photos. You can go to any one photo and see what tags Mylio has added to your photos. Like if I select this photo of a starfish, it knows there's an animal, there's a lot of orange, the exposure, all kinds of things. Not only what is in the photo, but whether the photo is correctly exposed or not, whether a person is smiling or not smiling. Visual properties of the photo. Has this photo been edited? Has it been cropped? What was the aperture that I shot this photo in? What camera did I use? You guys remember a camera, a phone called a BlackBerry? I can go in here and I can go to research in motion. And apparently I have a bunch of photos that were taken with a BlackBerry phone long time ago. They made it into my Mylio library and I still have them. And they're great because, you know, there's a great photo of my son making a funny face. So these are one of the many ways in which Mylio helps you organize your photos and very quickly have access to just the photo that you want. All right, so that is Mylio in a nutshell. You've seen that you can organize photos and find them based on when the photo was taken, where the photo was taken, who's in the photo, what is in the photo, and where the photo lives, whether it's in a particular album or in a particular folder. You can also use Mylio once you've added all your photos and you've helped it collect metadata by doing very specific searches. I can go here to the all photos view again, and instead of doing a filter, I can just say, Mylio, I want to see photos of my wife and I. So I'm going to say, show me photos of Sarah and JC. And when I hit return, it shows me that there's 1,498 photos where Sarah and JC are somewhere in the metadata of the photo. In most cases, it's because the faces are in them. You'll notice that there's a lot of photos here that have other people in them. And what I want is just the two of us. Well, there's very special functions in Mylio that let you narrow things down. So if I just want photos of the two of us, I can say, okay, show me photos where Sarah and JC are in the photo, but the face count equals 2. In other words, there's only 2 faces in the photo. And if I do that search, now I'm down to 874 photos. And you'll see that it only has photos, for the most part, that there's just 2 of us in the photo. I can be very specific and say, show me photos of the 2 of us that were taken in Puerto Rico, like a specific location. And now it's only showing me 177 photos. And there's, again, photos of the 2 of us. That's where we got married. So very advanced functionality for finding just the photo that you want to find and that you're looking for. So there you have it. That is Mylio in a nutshell. And that is how, by bringing all your photos into Mylio, you can go from the clutter of not knowing where a photo is or feeling overwhelmed or that you're drowning in photo to the clarity of just remembering when something happened, where something happened, who is in the photo, and in a few clicks, getting exactly to the photo that you're looking for. And you can do that not just on a computer, but you can do it on any device. If I go here to my list of the devices that I use Mylio on, you'll see that, one second, I'm just turning my iPad on. You'll see that I have Mylio installed on my desktop computer at home. That's the Mac Studio. I have it on my laptop. I have it on a Windows Surface tablet. I have it on my iPhone. I have it on my iPad. And more importantly, we talked about how do we protect the photos. Well, I have 3 locations that every single original of my photos gets saved and protected. Whether I take a photo with my phone, or whether I take a photo with the camera, or whether I scan a photo, every one of those photos goes to 2 different hard drives and to a cloud-based storage location. So my photos are constantly being protected. I could lose all of my devices tomorrow and only have one of these hard drives left, or even just the cloud, and recreate my library exactly as I presented it to you. I could buy a new computer, install Mylio on it, and log in with my account, and it would, at the moment I connect that hard drive, it would get populated exactly how I had it, with the same organization, with the same corrections. Everything just exactly how I left it, even though I lost my devices. So that is the importance of protection. So that is what I have. How are we doing on questions, Lori?
Good. JC, were you able to show photo declutter?
Thank you for saying that, because that's an important part of selecting and reflecting that we didn't cover. So there are a series of tools in Mylio that help you organize or declutter or reduce the number of photos. One of the things that happens, particularly if you've been like saving your photos to multiple hard drives, because over the years you got paranoid that you were going to lose your photos, so you kept making copies of them, but now you don't know what photos are on what hard drive, and then you import all of them into Mylio, and now you have duplicates. Well, Mylio has a tool called a deduplication tool. I can go here to the organize menu and click on find duplicate photos. You can also find it from the dashboard. If you go under actions, find duplicate photos. And that's going to show me every photo of my library for which I have a duplicate. And I can ask Mylio to automatically check one of those duplicates for deletion. If there's metadata on one photo that's not on the other, like for example, if on one of the copies of the photo, I already tagged the face, but I didn't tag it on the other photo, Mylio is going to merge that data when it removes one of the duplicates. So the deduplication tool is super useful. I don't have very many duplicates in this library. I only have 29 sets, but I could easily tell Mylio, run auto check and then delete check, and I would go from 29 duplicates to none. I started with thousands of duplicates, and then I used Mylio to reduce the number over time. And now I have a very, very clean library. So the 45,000 photos that I have are really photos that I want to keep. The other tool that's also very useful is not for duplicates, but is for clutter. So oftentimes we take a lot of photos of the same thing. So and I'm going to start by going into a folder here. I just bought a new camera, and I've been testing this camera a lot. I have a folder here called camera testing. And if I go in here, you'll notice that there's a lot of photos of the same thing over and over again. Well, using the Mylio DeClutter tool, I can tell Mylio to find similar photos. And Mylio automatically applied the folder as a filter, and now it's going to show me photos that were taken within a specific amount of time. So I can say, show me photos that were taken within a second of each other. And now it's building these groups, and you'll notice that everything in this group is very similar. So I can go ahead and look through these 5 photos and only pick one of them and get rid of the other 4. So very quickly, I can go through that clutter and minimize and pick the best one of a set without having, and then I don't have to keep 4 of the same photo. I can just keep the best one. Here's another good example where I can go through And it looks like that second one is the best one. So I can select the other three. And now if I tell Mylio to delete the check ones, I will only keep one photo from that group. So that is the DeClutter tool. So DeDupe and DeClutter are tools that makes it really, really easy for you to go over multiple photos, either if they're duplicates or if they're very similar because they were taken within a fraction of a second or a few seconds from each other using the same camera. So those are those tools.
Great. Donna has a question. It's about albums. And she's asking about dragging and dropping.
All
But
right.
she wants the photos to be in a specific order.
Oh, yeah,
So,
absolutely. So let's create a quick album. I'm going to go here to the all photos view, and I'm going to ask for, let's do the photos of cats again. Let's say, show me all the cat photos. So maybe I don't want all of these photos to go into an album. I could select all and then right mouse click or use the little action menu down here at the bottom. This is particularly useful if you're using a touch device where there is no mouse clicking functionality. You can find the same menu. But if I right click, I can see the add to album function. And if I click that, Mylio would say, okay, what album you want to put it on? I can create a new album, blah, blah, blah. Now, I might not want all of these cats. I might just want a few cats. Might want that one, and that one, and that one, and that one. But sometimes when you're doing that, you forget to hold down the command key or the control key, and then you lose count. So an easier way to do this is you can select a few photos and use the clipboard. And the Mylio clipboard is always on at the bottom of the screen. So if I grab these photos I selected and I drag them down, they're now in my Mylio clipboard. And I can now go and keep adding more photos to that clipboard. So that's Samantha there. And there's this cute photo of Scooter there. And there we go. That's pretty good. That's the photos that I want. So now the clipboard has the photos that I want. I can go ahead and switch to my album view. I can create a new album. So I'm right mouse clicking and selecting new album. I can also click this plus button here to create a new album. And we'll create the album. There it is. I go into it, and now I can just drag the photos in there. Now the photos are now sorted in a very specific way. If I go into the More menu, which is the three little dots up here on the top right, I can see that these photos are sorted by date created in ascending order. I can switch to manual, and I can change the order in which I want these photos to be organized. So I can put that one at the beginning, that one at the end. I want this one over here. I want Scooter over here. And this one's from when there were kittens. Let's make that one the last one. So now I have the sorting order exactly like I wanted. Albums is the only place that has the manual option. You're not going to see, if you go into a folder or if you go into the all photos view, you will not see the option to sort manually. That's only available inside an album. All right. Any other questions?
Diane has black backblaze, and
Oh,
she
yeah.
wants to set it up as a vault. So I was hoping
Oh,
maybe you
yeah,
could show.
absolutely. Okay, so
Okay.
Backblaze, the company, has different services. And the specific service that will work with Mylio Photos is called Backblaze B2. So make sure that you create a Backblaze B2 account. And the reason for that is because not all cloud services are the same. The ones that are supported by Mylio are very specific. I'm going to go here to the dashboard and click on devices. And if I click the add button at the top of the devices list, one of the options is to add a cloud service. And when you click that, it shows you what services you can use as cloud devices in Mylio. Google Drive is one, OneDrive is another, and any S3 compatible storage. And S3 is a protocol that was invented by Amazon, is what Amazon Web Services uses, but there's a number of companies, including Backblaze, that provides S3 compatible services. So if I can't do it because I already have a device of that type, but what I would do is I would click on that, and then I just put the information about my Backblaze account, and I add that service. It's really just a few clicks. And our manual has very, very specific information about that, which is a good segue into showing you where to get more help. The help menu in Mylio, I'm going to clear my clipboard because I don't need it anymore. The help menu in Mylio has a lot of information. If you go to our how-to guide, that will open up a browser window with the manual for Mylio, which is manual.mylio.com. And one of the things that you can find here is how to add more devices to your Mylio photo library. So if I go there and I go to adding a cloud service and adding an S3 compatible, there is this very specific instruction step-by-step on how to use Backblaze V2. So I highly recommend you go there and find it. And if you need anything at all, there's 900 pages in our manual, and everything is very well organized using the index on the side. You can also search for specific things and get the help that you need. A few other places that you'll want to know about is our community. If you go to the Mylio community, you're welcome to join. You can create an account and join. It's a different account than your Mylio account. You don't have to be a Mylio customer to join, but you don't have to join. You can just click explore. And this is where a lot of information about Mylio Photos is distributed. Here's the getting started webinars. Notice we're live right now. But there's a lot of quick start videos, photo tutorials. All of the webinars are recorded. So if you want to watch a recording of a previous webinar, you can see them there. Every week we do something called a coffee break, which is a shorter meeting. It's kind of like a webinar, but instead of being one person talking like I've been doing for an hour, it's more of a discussion, and everybody's on Zoom and you can ask questions. There's usually a subject that we discussed. Upcoming, we have some coffee breaks about all the new features in version 24 that's coming up in a few weeks. So great place to find more information. We also have a couple of video courses. Mylio Photos Fundamental is really detailed, broken down into sub-chapters, about 2 to 5 minutes for every video of how to use different parts of Mylio. It's the kind of video course that you can start at the beginning and watch it all the way through the end, or you can just find the specific subject that you need help with and go specifically to that video. So lots and lots of help there. I highly encourage you to check it out. And the other thing that you can do from the help menu is contact my team. You can go here to contact Mylio support, and you'll get this little window. And if you click fill out web form, that is where you put in the information. When you do it this way, when you start contacting support from the app in this manner, we receive logs from your system, and those logs make it much more easier for us to diagnose your problem, because we can analyze the logs, pinpoint the problem, and then tell you, oh, looks like the hard drive on this computer is almost full, and that's why Mylio is not synchronizing, as an example. All right. Any other questions we have, Lori?
I think covered it. Excellent presentation, JC. Really good.
Good. I'm glad everybody liked it. I wasn't paying too much attention to the questions going by, so I hope everything got answered. We have 4 more minutes, so if there's any other questions, now is the time. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you start using Mylio, and when you fall in love with it, tell your friends, tell your family, and keep us in business. We want to keep making this application better and better and help you protect and relive all those precious memories. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.